that beef. Whoa, stunning. You can see I've already had a few bites out of this already. Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to dry age a rib of beef. It's a boneless rib of beef and I'm going to be using one of my special dry aging bags. Check it out. Okay, so this is my British boneless beef rib joint from Sainsbury's. Hey, and it says 21 day matured. Okay, that's wet aged, not dry aged. We're going to be using one of these dry aging bags. I've got a 200ml by 400ml dry age bag here. We will use this with the Vac Assist strip. And I'm going to show you a little technique here just to give you a little bit of peace of mind if you're not 100% sure that your meat is clean or as clean as it should be. Sometimes it may have been contaminated by the surface or packet or whatever. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this meat joint out and treat it as if we need to clean it. Now we're not going to run it under a tap or anything like that, although you could do that if you wanted to. I'm going to treat mine with my own homemade apple cider vinegar, and that's really going to give the outside a high acidity or a low pH, and that's not a particularly good environment for bacteria to grow. Some bacteria does grow in high acidic conditions, but generally speaking they're very few and far between. So I have my joint. I'm just going to pat that dry, get some of the excess blood off here. Remember, we are going to be dry aging this, so any moisture we can get off at this stage is a help. I say that, and then in the next breath I'm going to dunk it in vinegar. So let's get rid of the packet as well. Go straight into the bin with that. This is the thing I really don't like about supermarket meat. I mean, I should really have bought this from a butcher's, but as an example, a lot of the yield in these supermarket bought meats are blood and water, and obviously you're paying for that at the price of a rib joint. It's not a good thing. So as much water as you can get out of this, the better. It's going to improve the quality. So I'm just taking off some of the blood. That's all good. Now, this is my cider vinegar, and I made this myself by accident. I was hoping to have some lovely cider out of it, but you know, things don't work out otherwise, do they? So I'm just going to give this coating on the outside of vinegar. So it's got a nice little coating just on the outside, and that will give it a nice acidic coat. And we're going to go straight into the dry aging bag. So I'm using a 200 by 400. Now I reckon I could cut that in half, and I think I will. So we don't want to waste these bags because they're very expensive. So we'll cut this in half, and what we'll do is we'll keep the other bit. We can put a seal on that with our vac machine, and we'll have a new bag. So here's our bag that we've cut down. Ideally, I don't really want to touch this around where I'm going to seal it, so you can see that's why I've let me just pop that somewhere dry on the board. get this in. I'm going to turn it around so it's as flat as it can be. There we go. Now this is going to be tight. I really didn't want to waste this bag. So we're going to try and put a vacuum on that. Just going to use my Vac Assist strip. I might even cut that down just a fraction. So you want it so the ribs go in and out between the heat bar and the neoprene seal, so that we can draw a vacuum and get a seal. Now we'll pop that there like so. Make sure that that's away from the vacuum hole there. And we'll close this down as best we can. You see that's pulling a vacuum. You can give it a bit of a hand if you want. That's sealed. We'll open that out and you can see that's sealed. I will put, have a little bit of run in there, that's okay. I'll just put another seal on that, just so that I'm 100% certain. I'll cancel it, right. Because this heat bar is now quite warm, I'm going to leave that in there just for a couple of seconds so that it cools down. And we can open that up and we've now got 2 seals on this. And you can see that heat seal goes right the way across there. That's going to keep that vacuum while this is air drying. So next important thing is to weigh it and record that weight. So we're going to zero our scales. Okay, we'll pop our meat in there. And that's 1.048 kilos or 1,048 grams. And it's always good to write that on there, 1,048. And the other important thing is to put on here today's date, which is the 13th of December, 1312. We now know its original weight. We now know the date it went in. We can calculate quite easily its weight loss by working out the percentage loss on here. We're going to look for around about 15% loss on here, and we'll see what that looks like in about a week or so. Now, my advice when you use these bags is to occasionally take the meat out the fridge and weigh it and just check to see that it's going to be losing its weight. While it's in the fridge, obviously these are dry aging bags. They need to have air circulation around all sides, so make sure that the meat goes onto a rack so that the air can get underneath. These are the food equivalent of Gore-Tex. So they aren't a true plastic bag, they are a membrane which allows water vapour to pass through them. They look ostensibly like an ordinary plastic bag, but believe me, they're not, okay? They're very special, that's why they're so expensive. And this allows you to air dry meat or aged meat in the fridge without having to worry about having a cabinet with a specific humidity. Okay, so this is now ready to go into the fridge. We'll visit this when it comes out. Right, we have our boneless rib joint, our boneless ribeye that we've been drying in the fridge in our dry aging bag since the 13th of December. Now, we were going to aim for about 15% weight loss, but I think it's gone a little bit drier, but that's okay. It still feels quite okay. So that's really nice. You can see how it's dried as well. You've got this lovely sort of dark colour on the front here. It's gone quite dark on the back too. But obviously I want to get the maximum yield out of this without much trimmage, so I think we've gone over. We'll weigh it and do that calculation, but in order for this to equalise, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it out the dry aging bag, which is, as you remember, a membrane which allows moisture to pass through it, and I'm going to put it into a standard vacuum bag, draw a vacuum on it, stick it back in the fridge for about another week and a half to 2 weeks, and just allow this to equalise in terms of moisture. It's quite dry on the outside, it's probably still very wet on the inside, but we want that to sort of equalise out a bit so that the dry bits rehydrate from the moisture that's in the middle. One thing I will say, I can see nothing growing on this, and if you recall that we put a high acid on the outside here, we used some vinegar to lower the pH on the outside, give it a nice acidic sort of finish, and that stopped anything growing on the outside. So that's a really useful tip for making sure that your meat goes in and stays very, very clean and doesn't have anything growing on it. So there's a very useful tip there. Right, let's get weighing this first. So it was 1048 if you recall, and it's now 801 grams. I'll turn that around so you can see that. 800 grams. Now, I ran this calculation earlier. That's a weight loss of about 26% from its original weight loss. So, sorry, 24%. I think if you do the math, it works out to 24% weight loss. That's fine. Okay, so we'll now take this out of the dry aging bag. I don't really want to handle this as best I can. As much meat in there as you can. We'll now just pop this on a vacuum cycle, draw a vacuum on this, and then we can return it back to the fridge. So there we are, we've got our seal on it. Doesn't need to sit on a rack now, this can just go straight into the fridge and this will begin to equalise out. It's the 22nd of December today, so this has been in the fridge for 8 days and it's dried out 24% in 8 days, which I think is quite impressive. It just shows that these bags can age beef very, very quickly, or dry age beef very quickly. But you know, if you wanted to do the full 28-day dry aging, or even longer if you wanted to, aim for the target weight in the dry aging bag. As soon as it reaches that target weight in the bag, transfer it into an ordinary vacuum bag so that it can go back in, equalise out, and do the rest of that aging in a safe environment. Right, we'll get this back in the fridge, and when it's ready, we'll pull it back out and we'll cook it up and taste it. Wicked. Right, the meat's been in the fridge, equalising. We dried it, we took it out of the air drying bag and we popped it in this vacuum bag. You can see the colour's gone nice and dark. Looks all pretty good. We'll take it out of this and we'll fry it in a pan to brown it. We'll give it a nice sear and then we'll stick it in the oven and hopefully we'll end up with a really nice finished piece of beef. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to probe it with this temperature probe. I've got this set to 52 degrees Celsius, and when this goes in the oven, we'll probe it to make sure that the internal temperature, when it reaches 52, we'll take this out to rest, we'll cover it up, and as the heat that's on the outside migrates towards the inside, that temperature will rise. We should get to around about 62 as a finished temperature, by which time that'll be medium rare. We can slice that and check it out, see what it tastes like. Right, let's take this over to the frying pan. First things first, we'll get this pan nice and hot. Pan's nice and hot. Okay, let's get this beef in there. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to render this fat down. Okay, pan's off now, gas is off. I'm going to probe this with our probe, set to 52 degrees. And the idea is to stick it in the thickest part of the meat, right in the centre. And that way you'll know when that part reaches 52 degrees. And we can see that's actually very cold at the moment. So, just put a little bit of alley foil over this. We don't want that drying out while it's in the oven, and we'll go straight across. Pop this straight into the oven. This will let us know. Pop it there. This will let us know immediately by alarm when that's up to 52 degrees. What about that? My temperature probe has just gone US. So what I'm going to do is, I've got a standby here, so we'll pop that in. Clearly we can't operate without it, because we want to know precisely what our temperatures are. So this one's a very accurate temperature probe, so I'm quite pleased that we get a good result from that. Okay, let's get this in the middle. See if we can get in. Look at that, straight in the same hole, misses. There we go, we can already see that temperature increasing. So, we'll leave that there. Okay, the magic, 60 degrees, that should be it. We're now going to slice this up and we'll see. Okay. Don't need our probe anymore. Okay, that looks lovely. I think we'll take this out and slice it up. Oh, it smells absolutely delicious. Let's see how it looks inside. And now I know we've got some strings on this we're going to cut through, so. That looks absolutely stunning. Now obviously, got to go for the obligatory taste. That tastes delicious. Really intense, steaky flavour. I'm going to put this in a steak sandwich and we're going to have this for lunch. And that's going to be amazing. So I've just fried up some shallots. That's shallot. And we'll get these into some sourdough toast and we'll have that for lunch. Well, that was my dry aged beef. Have a sip of tea. Sip of tea. Wow. Look at that beef. Whoa, stunning. You can see I've already had a few bites out of this already. Says it all. That is absolutely delicious. As long as you get the cooking process right, up to 60 degrees and on the internal temperature, and you've got this lovely, lovely, beautiful steak. Nice bit of rib. Until next time, we'll see you. Take care.